Anytime you take an organic structure like a handwritten script and force it into this additional system, you get interesting compromises that themselves create an aesthetic. The typewriter aesthetic is one that readers still recognize and designers still reach for when they want to shift the focus from the content to the voice behind it. What we've begun exploring is how to create a typeface that has that immediacy and that informality without looking like an actual typewriter, without looking nostalgic.
When we started talking about the possibility of making a monospace typeface, we were thinking that we didn't have one of our own to use. And being a designer and a programmer, it's a style that I would come across quite a lot in my daily practice.
I've never really worked on a project quite like Operator. A typeface with like this kind of mechanical feel.
Typewriter typefaces have to do with the constraints of this width system that forces these shapes to hew to this common width. It sort of talks about the technology that made it in a way that I find really satisfying.
Letters typically get wider as they get bolder, but typewriter faces are bound by a fixed width and can't get very bold. Since we wanted Operator to have a full range of weights, we created not only a monospace typeface on a fixed width, but also relaxed the rhythm to create a font with natural widths. These natural width fonts have a larger family and a less rigid pace that makes them feel more familiar.
Typically when you start designing a typeface, you're looking at the characters that are a little bit more neutral. When you start looking at something that has to be on a fixed width, you start with some more difficult letters. Where the Roman can sometimes be a little bit more neutral, the italic has a lot more expression. I wanted it to capture the kind of feeling of a script typewriter typeface.
Script typewriter faces have an incredible history that goes back to really the earliest years of typewriting.
Most people don't really think about or know what causes them to look the way they do. They just know that this set of shapes is quirky for a very specific set of reasons that seems authentic.
It was unexpected to see that level of personality come through in an editor. The type that you choose for your editor, it should communicate to you, it should be invisible.
What you need a lot of times is also an italic that might stand out.
Certain keywords in your code will now be italicized in the script. And I found it so helpful, especially for the code that I write, the front-end code, JavaScript mostly, and CSS. I have no problem detecting a lowercase l next to a 1, and I really like it. I really like it.
When you free yourself from the formal requirements of sticking to one particular style, you find that there are opportunities for personal expression and design solutions that are unexpected.
Where the Romans, I almost want to leave alone and let them do their thing. The italics feel like they invite me to just play around. It's really nice to be able to get the texture on the page just right because I have so many weights to choose from.
It gives a really unique personality and something different when it comes to technical typefaces, I think.
There's this real neutrality about it, and at the same time as being used for something like an office memo, it also evokes the great American novel, it evokes a love letter that somebody might have written, it evokes poetry. People never seem to tire of working with these sets of forms.